The conference hall of the Galactic Linguistic Institute fell silent as Dr. Valaxis, the renowned Chronaxi historian, concluded his presentation. His violet-hued scales shimmered under the auditorium lights as he gestured toward the holographic display showing ancient script. "And so," he announced with finality, "we can confirm that the Ttheran language has been completely extinct for over 3,000 standard years. No living being in the known galaxy possesses the ability to read, write, or speak this dead tongue." Carol leaned back in her seat, arms crossed, a knowing smile playing at the corners of her mouth. Her partner Kenneth sat beside her, already anticipating what was about to happen. He'd seen that expression before. It usually preceded something memorable. "Dr. Valaxis," Carol called out, her voice cutting through the murmur of the assembled scholars. "I have a question." The historian's triple-jointed fingers paused mid-gesture. "Yes, human Carol?" "If the language is extinct," she said, reaching into her satchel, "then who's been sending me letters?" The auditorium erupted in confused chatter. Kenneth couldn't suppress his grin as Carol pulled out a stack of aged parchments, each covered in the distinctive flowing script that had just been displayed on the hologram. Dr. Valaxis's skin tone shifted to a pale purple, the Chronaxi equivalent of going white with shock. That's impossible. Where did you acquire those forgeries?" "Forgeries?" Carol stood, making her way down the aisle toward the stage. "These aren't forgeries, Doctor. They're letters. Personal correspondence, actually. I've been receiving them for the past 2 years. The historian descended from the stage, his movements hurried and ungraceful. He snatched the first parchment from Carol's hand, his multiple eyes scanning the document rapidly. His breathing apparatus fluttered with agitation. The syntax is perfect. The grammar, immaculate. But this cannot be authentic to Ttheran. The last speakers died millennia ago during the great collapse of Sector 7. Kenneth joined Carol at the front of the room, adding his own evidence to the pile. "We thought the same thing at first. Carol received the first letter at an archaeological dig site on Tethys Prime. We assumed it was a prank. Until more kept coming," Carol continued. "Different locations, different planets. Somehow these letters find me. And they're not random gibberish, they're actual conversations." A Myrmidian scholar in the front row clicked her mandibles skeptically. "What do they say? Can you read Ttheran, human Carol?" "I couldn't at first," Carol admitted. "But Kenneth here is excellent with linguistic patterns. We spent months decoding the first letter using the limited academic resources available." Kenneth pulled up a datapad, projecting a translation beside the original text. The first letter read, "To the one who walks where we once stood, greetings. We have waited long for someone to remember us." A ripple of shock passed through the assembled academics. Dr. Valaxis's color shifted again, this time to deep indigo, fascination mixed with disbelief. "Subsequent letters," Carol said, spreading more parchments across the presentation table, "taught us the language. Whoever is writing these has been educating us, piece by piece. They wanted to be understood." "Preposterous," Dr. Valaxis muttered, though his conviction seemed to waver. "The Ttheran civilization was completely destroyed. Their homeworld collapsed into its sun. There were no survivors. I've spent 4 decades researching this." "Then explain these," Kenneth challenged, his usually gentle demeanor sharpening with certainty. "We've had them analyzed. The paper is authentic to Ttheran textile pulp, radiocarbon dated to within the correct time period. The ink is composed of minerals only found in the Tethys system. These aren't reproductions, Doctor." Carol pulled out the most recent letter, her expression softening. "The latest one arrived 3 days ago. Would you like to know what it says?" The entire auditorium seemed to hold its collective breath. Even the translator bots hovering near the ceiling had gone still. Kenneth translated as Carol held up the parchment. "We are the last. preserved in stasis, hidden in the places between stars. When our world died, we did not. We merely waited for someone curious enough, persistent enough to hear our voice. We are grateful it is you, Carol of humanity. Your species understands survival against impossible odds. Dr. Valaxis's legs nearly gave out. A younger assistant rushed forward with a support stool. There's more, Carol said quietly. They've told us where they are. Coordinates to a station in deep space, beyond the charted territories. They're asking for help. They want to come home. The implications crashed through the assembly like a tidal wave. A civilization thought extinct for 3 millennia, somehow preserved, reaching across the void to make contact. And they'd chosen a human, a species barely 2 centuries into space travel, as their messenger. Why you? The Myrmidian scholar asked the question everyone was thinking. Why would they contact a human and not established galactic civilizations? Carol looked at Kenneth, then back at the assembly. Because we're newcomers. We don't have preconceptions about what's possible or impossible. We didn't write them off as extinct just because history said so. When I found that first letter, I didn't think this must be fake. I thought this is interesting. Let me investigate. Humanity's greatest strength, Kenneth added, is that we question everything, even accepted truths. Dr. Valaxis slowly stood, his color shifting to a bright amber, respect and acknowledgement among his people. I have been wrong, he said, his voice carrying through the silent hall, and I am grateful for it. Human Carol, human Kenneth, you have rediscovered a lost people. What do you intend to do? Carol smiled, folding the letters carefully. We're going to bring them home, Doctor. We're going to mount a rescue expedition. Then, Dr. Valaxis said, straightening to his full height, I insist on joining you. I've spent my life studying the dead. It's time I met the living. As the conference dissolved into excited chaos, planning committees forming spontaneously, Kenneth leaned close to Carol. You know this is going to be dangerous, right? Deep space, uncharted territory? Kenneth, Carol replied, tucking the precious letters back into her satchel. When has danger ever stopped humanity? He laughed because they both knew the answer. Never. And that was exactly why the Ttherians had chosen wisely.